Yo. Yeah. Cruzo bordes sin papers, mochila, sudor. En la yarda con mis primos, counting every free by oh. Me pararon en la esquina, luces rojas en la piel. Pero el miedo se me quiebra cuando pienso en mi abueliel. Retorno con orgullo, mira, traigo mi raíz. Homie, cargo mis fracasos como oro en cicatriz. Me sacaron de mi calle, pero no de mi razón. Tengo casa en 2 países, solo un mismo corazón. Deportado, story Spanglish, same corazón, same fight. De ley pa' México, shining my own light. Ice can borrar lo que el pueblo sembró. Deportado pero fuerte.
Please welcome Israel Concha, founder and president of New Comienzos. For more than a decade, Israel has led binational efforts supporting deportees, returnees, dreamers, migrants, and binational families through education, employment, technology, and community collaboration. He is the creator of the world's first human reintegration ecosystem, a pioneering model that connects nonprofits, educational institutions, employers, and technology to provide support before, during, and after return. Israel's work reminds us that returning does not mean starting over, but transforming experience, talent, and resilience into new opportunities. Please welcome Israel Concha to the New Comienzos community.
Hello, 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 and welcome to another special session of New Comienzos Basecamp, our English for Career Development program, and our keynote speaker series. First, I want to thank all of our fellows, facilitators, mentors, volunteers, and everyone who continues to believe in what we're building together. Today is your 4th Basecamp session, and I want you to remember something very important. There are dozens of people rooting for you, so stay strong, stay focused, keep showing up, and most importantly, keep your eyes on the bigger goal and the opportunities ahead of you. Next slide, please. Today's session is especially important because we want you to start thinking about opportunity in a bigger way. Opportunities don't only come from a job posting. They can also come through scholarships, grants, fellowships, educational programs, partnerships, and in-kind support. And many of these opportunities are not only available in the United States, there are also international opportunities for people who are living, working, and building their futures in Mexico. Next slide, please. Our goal today is simple. We want you to leave this session with more knowledge, more tools, and a better understanding of the opportunities that may be available to you. So stay curious, ask questions, and take full advantage of today's session. And now, without further ado, Lisa AI, please introduce today's keynote speaker.
Let's get down to business. Give you one more.
Please welcome Jack Waite, founder and executive director of GoBridge. Jack has collaborated with New Comienzos for several years, supporting our work through partnership building, cross-border collaboration, and social impact initiatives. With more than 2 decades of experience in higher education, nonprofit leadership, public policy, and international engagement, Jack has worked with universities, foundations, nonprofits, and public sector organizations across the United States and Latin America. We are grateful for his continued support, friendship, and commitment to creating opportunities for communities on both sides of the border. Please welcome Jack Waite to the New Comienzos community.
Jack, thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
And I'm very proud and happy to be here. So you heard my bio just now, and thanks for listening to it. And I, like the AI person said, I've got more than 2 decades in working around universities, nonprofits, public policy, philanthropy, and international programs. And what I've discovered is that these worlds are much more connected than they sometimes appear. When I was working at the LBJ school at the University of Texas, I helped write a grant that enabled students from Mexico, Canada, and the United States to all convene twice a year, and then it held a conference as well in Mexico City to kind of bring all the ideas together and share them. And writing a grant for that meant the program could occur. Otherwise, no one, none of these individual, I think it was 9 universities, would have funded it individually. So I helped write this grant for the now defunct USAID to take care of that. It was about a $600,000 grant over 3 years, so it was pretty significant. And it wasn't that we were trying to make something up and try to find funding for it. We found something that USAID at the time was excited about funding, and we had the resources and community to put it all together. And then later, I was doing a study abroad program in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and I was attending with a bunch of business students, and I was a public policy student, so I had to make up my own program. And what I found was there was a big lack of knowledge about what NGOs were doing, non-governmental organizations were doing in Russia to help promote civil society in Russia. Soon, a decade at this point after they were dissolved from the USSR. It was extremely interesting, and it was nothing that was linear. It was just a kind of a made-up program, but it was done very deliberately with making lots of connections with people from all different countries and continents. And it's just kind of something I fell into, and it's something I really love. And then over time, I realized that much of my work has been about the same thing: connecting people, institutions, ideas, and resources. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. You can go to the next slide if you wouldn't mind, please. And the next one, please. Okay, so academia, it's more than just teaching. It's one pillar that they strive for, but it's also quite a few other things. You've got teaching, research, convening, and connecting. And these last two are where I kind of focus my experience these days. But universities can do a lot of things to achieve their goals. They can bring together students and faculty in the most traditional way you could think as a university of operating. But you can also bring together governments in different ways. Governments fund many of these universities. Governments are studied, are partnered with, provide grants for research universities, et cetera. And you also see nonprofits involved. Nonprofits often come in and help facilitate ideas and programs that need to affect oftentimes disadvantaged populations. And the universities themselves can't do that work. So they usually partner with a nonprofit who is doing the work to do research and help them achieve their goals. You also have foundations, private foundations, public foundations, all kinds of foundations that are basically charged with funding projects that are part of their mission. If you have a project, if you have a foundation that has the mission to try to end hunger, then they would fund programs that make that possible. In the past, I worked with Feeding Texas, which was a group who ran the food banks in Texas, and it also promoted programs that ended with the goal of ending hunger. That is an example of a nonprofit that a foundation would fund, and oftentimes would be working hand in hand with a university or a college nearby that would bring both volunteers in, researchers, and lots of academic experience and know-how. We also have international organizations, and a lot of those are non-governmental organizations, but not necessarily. Some of them are foundations, sort of crossover foundations, maybe international organizations that don't really fall into an easy category. And those, again, work with universities to kind of fulfill the goals that a university has, where they can't actually do the work on the ground. And it also involves communities. So the big, one of the big sort of, I guess it's more of a secondary goal for most public universities especially, but oftentimes private as well, is helping the communities that they are that surround them. I can think of many great examples of this, but I don't want to call too many of them out because I think most universities and colleges have this as their one of their missions, is helping the communities that they're surrounded by and serving. So if you go to the next slide here, I want to talk about the classroom not always being a classroom. And this is talking about bringing students out into the world. One of the classics that you have is study abroad. Not everyone can study abroad, and not everyone. There can be some restrictions, but it's a life-changing experience for those who have done it. But you can also do site visits, local, community-based, maybe within the state, maybe in the local border regions and things like that. You can also work with non-governmental organizations and government agencies, policy organizations, people who are trying to rewrite policy and law to affect change at a much higher level. And you have community organizations who are doing quite the different. They're usually grassroots organizations, but not always. But they try to make the change on the ground level, and bringing students out into the world to participate in those various facets of their education that don't involve studying in the classroom really affects the student in ways that are beyond the classroom. Excuse me. And in fact, we have next week a group of students, graduate students from George Mason University in Virginia, coming to Mexico City, and one of their visits will be with New Comienzos, and to visit the Casa de los Amigos shelter. And last year, when this group came, they highlighted it in their, I think it was about a 10-day visit to Mexico City, visiting all sorts of organizations and groups and academic institutions. Most of them highlighted the visit to New Comienzos Casa de los Amigos as the highlight, as the top visit. So it's very important to bring things beyond the studying of policy and even the discussing of changing policy. It's one thing to do that, but it's another thing to see on the ground how change is being affected and how things are hitting the ground. It was extremely interesting. If you go to the next slide, please. So who actually gets things done beyond the university here? Take to the next slide, please. Okay, so here we've got these different, we'll call them buckets, I guess. So we've got governments, agencies, and governments themselves are affecting public policy at a policy scale. That means they are creating new laws and new policies and new ideas and new ways to think about the laws that they've passed, and very large scale. So a very sweeping scale, either federally or statewide. And we see that a lot. We've seen a lot of change in that respect in the last year or two. And we also have universities. And I just talked about that a bit. But what you're doing there is you're providing knowledge, and you're promoting and providing research. And those things go kind of hand in hand. You're sharing knowledge and you're doing research to increase your knowledge capacity. The other one is civil society. This one's a little tricky because it's hard to define. It's a lot of things that are not government, they're not universities, and they're not nonprofit organizations. So it's things like, the Lions Club, helping fund scholarships for somebody, or Rotary clubs, things like that, or even religions are considered part of civil society, even though they hold nonprofit status. Usually that's a different thing, but they're operating as civil society. So they're trying to help out and provide resources and help promote programs and projects in a very different way that's not funded by government, not part of a university, not part of a private sector job, or like private sector. And it's not part of an international organization like Red Cross or anything like that. And so most difficult social problems cannot be solved by any one of these alone. That's the huge takeaway here, is that these pillars here, these buckets, cannot operate solely on their own if any social problems are going to be fixed. And so migration is an obvious example there. So hunger, education, homelessness, public health, climate issues, workforce development, and so on. And this is also the bridge to grants, because collaborations require something else, and that is resources. And that takes us into fundraising. You go on to the next slide, please. So what I've learned, I've been doing this for quite a while, and we don't really want to talk about how to write a grant, but more this like what I've learned in my 20 plus years of grant writing, grant reporting, and so on. And one of the biggest misconceptions about grants is that grant writing isn't really about writing. It's about alignments. This may be the next slide. I'm not sure. There we go. Thank you. And what that means is a beautifully written proposal is great, but you send it to the wrong funder and it's a bad proposal. And it's sort of a three-way match there. You've got three things. What does the community need? That's one. What does your organization actually do? Or what do you actually do? And what does the funder want to accomplish? So those three things all need to be in alignment. And if they're not in alignment, again, you send in this great grant, but it's a bad grant because it went to the wrong place, or it's the wrong funder. Next slide, please. So a really strong grant will sit in this overlap of what problem needs to be solved, what can your organization credibly do, and what does the funder want to accomplish? So these are very unique things. These are very different perspectives coming from the community, coming from what you can do, and coming from what a funder can provide. So without this alignment, it's really pointless to even try to apply for something like this. So what you want to do is find this alignment and then pursue the grant. If you could start with the next slide, please. So here's what we want to look at. Probably the first mistake I ever made with a grant was I started out saying like, our organization was founded in 2002 and our mission is blah, blah, blah. And I doubt anyone read much past that intro right there, because what I really should have led with is what is happening, who's affected, why does it matter, why now, and how your organization, or you, if you're applying for a solo grant or scholarship type thing, how you can help solve it. This comes in very handy in many facets of your writing. If you can show someone, what is happening, the why now, and explain how you can help, that will go a long way. And this is very relevant to New Comienzos and other organizations serving immigrant communities. You can take the next slide, please. So here's the anatomy of a grant. We've got a need and a population. What is the problem and who does it affect? That's your need and that's your population. Next part is, what will you do? What's your solution? Next to that is activities. Those go hand in hand right there. Oh, I'm sorry. Go back, please, if you mind. Thank you. Sorry about that. So it's what will you do and how will you do it? So that in a grant is really help. If you hook them with the first two, they're going to read the next 3 and 4 parts, and they will quickly want to see the next parts, which are outcomes, what's going to change, and budget, how much is it going to cost. And then at the end, you want to close with, why should we trust you? Why should you trust me with taking your grant and getting this work done? So you want to tell about who you are and what you've done in the past. Or if you're just starting out, why you have the abilities to achieve these goals. And then sustainability, and this is really huge. This is about saying what happens afterward. Is it going to be you taking care of a problem for 2 years and then the grant runs out and then the problem bounces right back? Well, no one wants to fund that. No one likes that idea. So if you could take the next slide, please. What you want to think about is this. This is very important. Outputs do not equal outcomes. So there you see it written out. Output, 100 people participated in this workshop. Great. What's the outcome? 70 participants secured employment within 6 months. That sounds much better. Just to your ear, to my ear, that's wow, that's what I want to hear. And that's what these organizations who are funding want to hear as well. Because funders care about activity. They want to know about change. And they hope that this change is ongoing as well. So let's say, again, we've got 200 people receive legal orientation, 85, that's great. It's just a number kind of thrown out there though. Outcome would be 85% reported increased understanding of their immigration options. That's what you want to hear, because that is showing an outcome that you can visualize and you can put in your head, and you can say, that's great, let's build on that. Because funders usually care less about how busy you are than about what you changed because you were there. That's a real change. Next slide, please. So you want to make these numbers talk to each other. When you have your grants or your proposal or your scholarship application, you want a narrative, you want a timeline, you want outcomes, and you always have to have a budget. So if, let's say the narrative says 100 participants, but the budget has 200 training manuals. And the evaluation plan says 150 surveys were given. Well, then the reviewer of this, the funder who's looking at this might think, those numbers don't really make sense. So let's tell a cohesive story instead. So let's make that narrative and the timeline and the outcomes and the budget all fit to where it makes a cohesive, coherent story. Okay, next, please. Okay, so here's what makes a strong proposal, and excuse all the columns in this one, but it's trying to get these all onto one slide because it's very important. This is huge. If you want to take a screenshot of something, go ahead and get this one. You've got to fit. Is this the right funder? This is where you can do a lot of research with different sort of AI tools to say, this is my mission of my organization, or this is what I'm trying to achieve. And this is a program I'd like to do, or project I have in mind. Find groups or organizations that this fits with. And you can find probably, it would take you down to maybe, I don't know, 100 or maybe 50 organizations that will fund or provide access to funding for those kinds of projects. Next one, you want to go to clarity. Is it easy to understand? Can someone understand this project quickly? Ideally, you want to be able to explain this to somebody in 2 minutes, really quick. We have a program that does this. It helps people, because of the problem that is this, we can help people do that. This is how we do it. Being able to really concisely say how you would address the problem. Evidence. Do you know the problem? Are you familiar with this? Do you have experience? Do you know it firsthand? Have you researched it? Have you done both? Feasibility. Can you do it? Can you realistically do it? That's important because a lot of people try to chase money around with grants and with proposals and things like that. And it's like, can you realistically get this done with the people that you have, with the people you might hire with increased funding and the timeline that you have? Can you do it? And then the impacts. What will it change? That's huge. That's what everyone wants to know at the end of the day. And then credibility. Why are you the organization to do this? And then at the end here, you look at the humanity side. And these are the real people behind all the statistics that we hear and see. And this is the big part. And when it comes down to it, simple writing will beat impressive writing. Because if you can bring all these things together and show in a very clear and concise way, in a simple way, that is going to be much more impressive than a very longly worded, fancy words thrown in there kind of proposal. Because grant reviewers, people who read these, they don't want to be dazzled. They want to understand. They need to understand. Next slide, please. So finding funders, I'm going to keep this a little short. Please don't try to chase every grant. Use a simple funnel. Again, simple writing beats impressive writing, and you don't want those reviewers to try to understand you. If you take the next slide, I think we'll be on the finding funders part. Okay, here we go. So you've got 100 possibilities, like I was mentioning earlier. If you did some sort of AI search, maybe you came up with 100 possibilities. Let's funnel that down. Really simple. You've got to funnel it down because you cannot just do 100 grant applications. Find 20 of those that are really worth investigating. Look into them more, research them a little more. Do a cursory look at their, if they have a request for a proposal or an RFP. If they have one, scan it over, make sure it fits with you. Do some research, just kind of background check them. Look at their mission, look at their website. Does it fit with you? And then out of that, find 5 very strong fits, like really strong. Like you think, oh God, yeah, this is going to work. And this is worth my time. And then out of those 5, do 2 or 3 of them, because it takes a lot of time to do prospect research. But it saves a lot more time than sending in all these different proposals. So pick 2 or 3 of those and look for things of these people, the funders. Look for things like geography, like what area do they fund? Population, do they serve some segments of the population? Issue, what is the issues that matter to them? Eligibility, what do you need to have to fit with their funding giving policy? And look at their past giving. Don't look at their website and say we funded this project and this program. Like really look into it and find out everything they've funded before, because there might be some small pocket of oftentimes you see this with the foundation. They'll fund maybe 2 or 3 really big projects that fit perfectly with their mission, but there might be another one that kind of drifts off a little bit, but it maybe tugs the heartstring of someone who's on the board of directors or someone who's in the foundation themselves. And maybe that will really appeal to them too. So do some research on that and focus heavily on 2 or 3 applications. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So something I learned very early on with fundraising and with everything I've done since then in life, either in the nonprofit sector or in the private sector or government work or anything I've done, nonprofit work, et cetera, is the best grants may start before the application. In that respect, I mean relationship building. Relationships matter, and because if you have a relationship with a person, someone who works for a foundation, someone who's friends with someone at that foundation, someone who knows someone who is on the board of directors, or someone who has anything to do with that, that's a relationship that will give you a leg up over anyone else. And you can talk to program officers for these funding organizations. You can attend events. You can look for introductions. You can try to, these are all networking things that you can do that will really help you in your career, in your life, especially when it's looking for funding. And then stay in touch with these people and report back after you've received a grant. So keep the relationship going. Don't just, don't just end it right there. If you go on to the next slide, please. So this is a big thing. Don't look at these funders like they're just an ATM. They're not just dropping money out and then leaving you alone. You really want to show them that you're a human, recognizing that they're a human, and you are trying to just find something that will work together to achieve some sort of common mission or goal that you both have. And so the question here becomes, how can we help this funder accomplish something they care about, rather than how can I get money? How can I convince this person to give me money? How can I convince this organization, this foundation to give me money, or this university to give me a scholarship, or fill in the blank there. but rather how can we help that funder accomplish something that they care about? Maybe that is, finding just the right student for a scholarship that they have, and you may fit that perfectly. You got to do that research, and you got to build the relationship to let them know you are that person, and that's important. It's incredibly important. And then next slide, please. Here's the unfortunate part. You will hear no a lot. And that's just part of fundraising. You're going to get rejected, and it doesn't mean that the proposal was bad. It doesn't mean the organization is not worthy. It doesn't mean that the project doesn't matter. It may mean that there were 200 applications for 15 awards. So that's not proof that the work doesn't matter. That's just proof that it wasn't the right time. And what you should do always when you get this rejection is ask for feedback. This is not like someone breaking up with you. This is you and a partner or a funder just not agreeing exactly right on something that is probably pretty close to aligning. So if you ask for feedback, they can tell you things that will give you a huge leg up the next time you apply, if you apply, or the next time you apply somewhere else that's similar. It's extremely helpful. And people always appreciate giving the feedback because that shows them that you are earnest and really wanting to learn what to do better. It helps you improve the proposal and keep that relationship going. So fundraising is partly the discipline of not confusing rejection with failure. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. So here's the big thing. Ideas need bridges. They don't exist in little islands. They need something to connect them. So we've got, next slide, please. Here's what you have. You have knowledge, you have people, you have institutions, you have resources, and you have impact. Now, if you're working in a university, a nonprofit, a foundation, community organization, almost all the work that you're going to do is ultimately about building bridges between these. And so remember those keywords and these 3 takeaways. Start with the problem, not the organization, not the grant. Start with the problem. Thank you. Number 2, find alignment. Like it says, the strongest partnership works for everyone. Build relationships. Relationships matter. People fund people and organizations that they trust. That's a huge thing. If you don't have that trust, they won't even give you the time of day. So these 3 things are huge. This is probably screenshotable right there too. It's just simple, but keep it always in mind when you're looking to achieve funding in any way, whether it's going from a loan at the bank to writing a successful grant proposal to writing a scholarship application. So in conclusion here, I just want to say some of the most meaningful work that I've been fortunate enough to be part of has happened when people from very different institutions decided that a problem was more important than the boundaries between their organizations. Universities have knowledge, communities have knowledge, nonprofits have relationships and experience, funders have resources, nonprofits have relationships and experience, and government has reach. And when those pieces all come together, that's when ideas have a chance to become impact. So with that, thank you. And I would be happy to answer some questions if you have.
Thank you so much for delivering an amazing presentation. I think one of the biggest takeaways today is that opportunities are out there, but we have to know how to find them, prepare for them, and be willing to take that first step. On behalf of everyone at New Comienzos Basecamp, thank you for sharing your experience, your knowledge, and most importantly, practical tools our fellows can actually put into action. Now, if you're ready, we look to move into our Q&A session. And fellows, this is an opportunity. Be curious, ask questions, and take full advantage of having Jack here with us today. Next slide, please. Now, some of the most common questions for someone living in Mexico, where should they start when looking for international scholarships, grants, fellowships, or other opportunities?
That is an excellent question, and I appreciate a very applicable question. So, fortunately, there's some good news here. With the advent of AI, you can love it or hate it, but what it can make your life, what makes your life much easier is if you're in the seat where you are looking for the answers to the question you just posed. Very easily, if you can just explain who you are. If you open the AI tool of your choice, I would just put a simple prompt in there and provide it with as much information as you can. Say, I'm a 20-year-old dreamer. I returned I'm in Monterrey currently. I'm originally from Fort Worth, Texas, and I want to go to university to study industrial engineering. I don't care what state, I don't care what private or public university, things like give it as much information as you can. Hit send, see what happens. You're going to find this saves probably days and days of research that you used to have to do back in my day, as they say. So that's extremely helpful. And this applies as well to grants, fellowships, etc. You always want to include as much information in this as you can. So that's as far as just searching and trying to find the initial opportunities. What you really want to do, and I'm just going to hammer this as much as I can in, build a relationship. So if you find that there are 5 different universities in the US doing programs that you love, reach out to them. Reach out to them in any way you see fit. Again, some sort of AI tool would help with this, but you could also look to your network. You could look at, if you have a LinkedIn profile, you could look at there, see if you have any connections with people. You can attend events. United States universities and colleges do all sorts of events in the major cities in Mexico, and they even do community college fairs at the Education USA offices throughout the embassies and consulates in Mexico, or the embassy and the consulates. And as well, you can look at just job or study abroad fairs, not study abroad fairs, university fairs when they come into town, and maybe 2 or 3 at a time will come, or maybe they'll promote events in your hometown. I know people who work for public universities in the United States who visit Mexico frequently and put on events. They bring professors down and they do research down here. It's just enormous opportunities if you look for them and then make yourself known. Attend those events and introduce yourself and just be confident and share your story.
That's great advice, especially what you said about looking at these AI platforms so you can do your research, connecting with universities, having connections. That can go a long way. Great answer. We have another question here. Next question. When you review or see successful applications, what usually makes one person stand out from everyone else?
Ooh, that's another great one. I've been on some grants, some committees to evaluate grants. I've also been on a scholarship committee briefly, and what you're looking for is a story. Like I think I mentioned that earlier in the presentation. Tell a story. Don't just give me, your scores on your testing and your GPA and even extracurricular things that you did. That's great, and everyone wants to hear those as well. But like, tell a story. Like, what do you want to do with this? Like, if I've one application that stood out to me for a graduate school program was someone who wasn't just saying, this is something I've been interested in a long time, and this will take me to the next level. It was saying, this will give me the tools to be able to create an organization that I dreamed up to bring together these, and this really meant a lot to me because this is something I'm passionate about. It said, I want to build this organization that brings together government agencies and organizations, universities and research units, and nonprofits doing the work on the ground. I want to be a hub to bring all those people together to get funding to make sure that all those people are connected. And I thought, wow, I haven't even looked at your GPA, or I don't know anything about you, but you're pretty much in right now. And then everything else fit, of course, but it really stood out. And when you're reading hundreds and hundreds of applications, you really want to stand out by just telling a personal story. I think that helps immensely, and lead with that, because you want, again, it's kind of like the idea that you've got 2 minutes with someone in an elevator. If you can sell yourself in 2 minutes, they're going to listen to the rest of what you have to say. If you can't do that, it's pretty much the door is shut. Bye.
Thank you very much, Jack, for that great answer, especially when you said about 3 things to remember. I believe you said start with the problem, finding alignment, and building relationships. I also believe that's a great foundation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We do have one final question for you. And the next question, what are some of the biggest mistakes people make when pursuing these opportunities? And what is one thing our fellows can start doing today to improve their chances?
I think I touched on this briefly before. I think this idea that you're not looking at funders as an ATM, whether that's a university committee, whether that's like the Rotary Club organization provides scholarships to thousands of students every year, or a foundation or a private foundation or whoever the funder is. Don't look at them as an ATM. Look at them as a person who wants to hear your story and tell a good story. Like I was saying in the previous answer, I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but it's a misuse of time. I think if you're just trying to put out, lead with who you are and how much money you want and what your program is to achieve this end. You got to lead with the story, and sometimes it's not your story. Sometimes it's a story about the problem, saying maybe this incredible number of people who have been sent back to a country that they've never known in their life because of some glitch in the immigration policy or some change in immigration policy has led all of these people who are stranded without the ability to go back and achieve their higher education goals that they've been building for 18 years. That tells the problem. Now introduce yourself. I am one of those people, and I have always wanted to achieve, get a degree in finance so I can pursue my dream of creating funding sources for immigrants in need. Or you need to tell the story, identify a problem, tell your story kind of quickly as the hook. You want to think about it like you're trying to. It's almost like the dating world. You're trying to tell the person right away what you're all about, without saying too much. You just want to sell your story in a meaningful way, in an earnest way. You really mean all this, and you want to tell the human side of it, because that will make the other person on the other side react as a human instead of as a auditor or someone who has a stamp that says denied or accepted. It's bringing the humanity out will help immensely. And again, with the relationship building, that's the start of it. Oftentimes, the start of relationship is often just tell me a little about yourself. Well, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now we're starting a relationship, and tell me about yourself. Okay, well, I work for this group who actually funds people like you, and so let's talk. We'll talk a little more. And it's not always that easy or that simple or straightforward, but you've got to bring those two things together if you really want to improve your chances. And I think the one big thing that you can do to improve your chance would be to not polish your story like you're making things up or polishing up a resume, but work on your story. Tell other people. Tell it to family members and friends, and say, this is what I would tell someone who came from a university that I want to attend. How does that sound? Would you want to continue a conversation with me, or would we just want to move on to the next person? your friends and family and colleagues can really help with that. And it's all about just being able to project yourself to another person in a very short time frame so they will want to learn more.
Jack, thank you again for joining us today. On behalf of everyone at New Comienzos Basecamp, we truly appreciate your time, your experience, and the practical advice you shared with our fellows. Before we finish this amazing event, if you could give us one final piece of advice, what would that be?
One final piece. Oh boy. Don't let rejection and disappointment get you down. It will always get you down a little bit, but keep your head up and keep your eye on the prize. It's not always an easy road. Sometimes it's very long, but sometimes along the way on that road, you'll discover different possibilities that will take you in directions you never realized before. So try to keep a positive attitude and try to keep moving forward.
Thank you very much, Jack, for joining us. I hope everyone leaves today remembering one important message. Opportunities are out there, but we have to be prepared to recognize them, pursue them, and take that first step. To all of our fellows, thank you for showing up, staying engaged, and continuing to invest in your future. Next slide, please. Now, in just a minute, you will head over to your Zoom session with your facilitators, where you'll continue today's Basecamp activities and put what you're learning into practice. Jack, thank you once again for being part of our New Comienzos community. And fellows, we'll see you in your Zoom rooms with your facilitators. Have a great session, everyone. And like I always say, New Comienzos, knocking on doors.
Deportado pero fuerte, mírame aquí sigo yo. No rendirse es la clave. No break, no fall. We ain't asking por permiso, we just standing tall. Deportados talk Spanglish en cada rincón. Ni de aquí ni de allá, pero firme.